Well, flywheel is force and friction, right? And in 2019, right, the key to any company's scale isn't really the product, it's the way in which you help people position it, the sales and marketing process. And you and I were talking about it. It's not really sales and marketing like it was in 2003, shmarketing.
I'm Shayna. I love dogs, I trip a lot, and I happen to have a knack for making pretty sweet videos for businesses. But the more videos we made, the more questions I got about how video and other content can be leveraged to make a bigger impact in their marketing. I mean, 44% of marketers say that producing content is their biggest challenge, yet content marketing is 62% less expensive than outbound and produces 3 times more leads. Now, I know a lot, but I certainly don't know it all, so I made it my mission to talk with content kings, queens, and bosses to learn as much as I could about crushing content marketing, and I'm taking you along with me. Welcome to the Content Coalition. All right, guys, I'm super excited about today's episode of the Content Coalition. I have the man, the myth, the legend, Dan Tyre.
Woo! Thank you very much. You're always excited. It's not just me. It's not just the coffee either.
Right. Well, I'm generally excited, but I'm like extra next level excited.
That's what I'm going
today.
for. It's all the big energy, right?
Of course.
I could say dopey things and people would still cheer. The last presentation I did in Scottsdale, that was unbelievable. I keynoted in front of 500 consultants. They gave me a standing ovation before I got on the stage. I'm like, wow, I need to take this audience with me everywhere I go.
Right?
Super fun. And where are we?
We are at Galvanize.
Yeah.
First of all, this place it's in Phoenix, downtown. It's an incredible space. It was so cool because when we called and we were like, hey, Dan was thinking about doing the interview there. They were like, yes, anything he wants.
So nice. And this space is amazing, right? There's
I know, I love it.
Dozens of entrepreneur companies, fast-growing companies that are here. It's right behind Chase Ballpark, right here in downtown Phoenix. And I know you know that the Phoenix entrepreneurial ecosystem it's so cool, and it changed so much, right? In 5 years, right, we've gone from a bunch of white guys talking about real estate to now we got women with headscarves, brown people, black people, tons of women entrepreneurs. Lots of them are here, right? And so Phoenix is a great place to start a company. The entrepreneur ecosystem continues to grow. We've got all these competitions. We got Venture Madness. We've got Phoenix Startup Week in a couple of weeks. Right? We've got all of these co-working spaces that all lend to a great environment for people to grow business.
Yeah, and I mean, the founder of Galvanize is female.
That's true.
Right?
I know. Heidi, right?
Yes.
Heidi, yeah, unbelievable. Diane Power, who I met walking in, she's always so gracious and empathetic and supportive of the community, and that just leads to more and more of these companies starting and then growing, and then some like going public and just generating a good economic base for all of Arizona.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, awesome. Well, for those of you who don't know who this amazing guy is next to me, Dan, you were employee number 6.
That's right.
At HubSpot.
That's right.
HubSpot.
I know. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I've been married for 29 years. What you'll recognize is that most of the smart thing I say, I clipped right from my beautiful wife, Amy, right? She's like, no, we're sitting at breakfast the other day, and I'm like, ooh, I got to write that one down. She's like, don't steal my content. My wife said that. I know. I know. You should. She should be sitting right here. She's a great yoga instructor. She does programs all over the United States. And so I've actually done 5 startups. I was a bass player in a heavy metal rock and roll band when I graduated. My hair was actually a little longer than yours, Shane.
What?
I know.
This takes time.
I know. It was
Good
years.
for you. That's commitment.
I kind of like long hair on men, and I loved long hair on me, except it's takes a little while, right? When I'm out of the shower now, I'm like this, and I'm ready to go. Right? I know. Exactly. You got a little bit of time. You got to comb it out and like the curls and things like that. But being a bass player is actually an awesome foundation for business.
Really?
Right? Do you know any musicians?
I play the piano, the guitar.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So, guitar players and singers, a little bit of an ego. I don't know about you, Shayna, maybe, but they're like, I need more spotlight, and they like to do it for the personal gratification. Bass players are totally different. Right? Bass players, you never hear of. They're just in the background. They're playing with the drummer, and they're the foundation, and they're even keeled, and they're all about collaboration, and they're all about explaining to the guitar player why he shouldn't be in the spotlight like 99% of the time. And those lessons, in fact, I should read a blog article on that, have lasted like the last 38 years. Right? And then I'm just super lucky. I do a lot of things, but I'm super lucky. My first real job out of business, I was selling computers. It was 1983. You weren't even born in 1983.
I was born in
You were?
83.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
You were like a baby, right? While you were in your crib, I was selling computers in downtown Boston. And I did it for a year. I was highly successful. My boss said, okay, I'm moving to a startup. I'm like, what's a startup? He goes, it's a company that's small, it's going to grow very quickly. I'm like, okay, have a good time. He goes, no, I want you to come with me. And I'm like, no, I got a job. He goes, I'll give you $2,000 more money. I'm like, okay, I'm in, let's go. And we started this company called Businessland, right? They had their corporate headquarters is in San Jose, California, right? Which is super awesome. And we were the first 3 employees in Boston. And the company grew from a couple of million to 1.4 billion over the next 9 years. And it was super fun. I went all over the country, did a lot of different things for HubSpot, did a lot of turnaround stuff in different areas, and I fell in love with hypergrowth, right? Then I left and I started my own company in my dining room, grew it to $25 million, sold it to a Phoenix-based company here, and was on the board of directors and EVP of sales. That was super fun. My 3rd startup went bankrupt. And
you can't win them all, right?
Well, it was amazing. You know, I'm this hard-charging guy, and facing bankruptcy and having to do that, it taught me business planning and humility.
Yeah,
right? And I'm telling you, it was a seminal part. And a lot of the advising and mentoring I do now is to make sure people have a plan and understand what's going on.
I love that.
Then my 4th startup got bought out by Microsoft. That was super fun. And the vice president of sales of Groove Networks was this guy, Brian Halligan. And when I worked for Microsoft for a year, he went to school at MIT. He met Dharmesh, and in 2007 they called me and said, all right, we're starting this company HubSpot, we want you to join. And I'm like, okay, but I live in Phoenix and you're going to start it in Cambridge. And he goes, ask your wife. They both went to the same college. So I say, can I be in Boston 4 weeks out of the month? She's like, no. We have 2 kids. I'm like, how about 3 weeks out of the month? She's like, no. I go, how about 2 weeks out of the month? She's like, nope. I go, how about 1 week out of the month? She goes, maybe. All right, so I call back Brian, I go 1 week out of the month. He goes, it's 2007, we can make it work.
Yeah.
So just by luck, I was the employee number 6 at HubSpot. The first 10 employees, all MIT trained, right? I'm not an MIT guy, right? And I've asked Dharmesh, who was the co-founder, why did you guys reach all the way out to the other side of the country? And he's like, Halligan said you were a good salesperson, a great startup guy, all that energy. We thought even if the product wasn't good, you could sell it. And it was amazing. I worked for this guy, Mark Roberge. He wrote a book called The Sales Acceleration Formula. He was the greatest vice president I ever knew, right before Hunter Madeley, who's the current vice president of HubSpot now. He took the company from 0 to 100 million. MIT, Sloan School grad, a big empathetic heart. And what made him so good, he's not a sales guy. You know, sales guys can be a little pushy and mean. This guy was empathetic. He was super smart, and he looked at the sales process like an engineer, right? He would focus on the critical success factors, and that's not the way you ran businesses before 2007. And so for me, it was a great like second act, right? For the first 25 years of my business career, we ran our businesses on gut feel, right? This is what I think we should do. Let's try this. After that, it was all data and analytics, right? And so HubSpot, 12 years in, $450 million in sales, publicly traded, 3,000 employees, leaning into diversity and inclusion, which you and I were talking about earlier, and just super fun. The main point is that everything changed in 2007, right? That is a key inflection point, right? When people's buyer behavior started to change. Right? Do you remember before 2007?
Yes.
How would you buy something before 2007?
You walk into a store.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And remember the guy in the polo shirt would come around and say,
Yep.
Shayna, are you looking to buy before the weekend? Right? And the little hairs in the back of your neck are like, sometimes you're like, no, I need help. Sometimes you're like, I just need the education. And you couldn't get that education unless you talked to that guy.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes they were like really helpful and they would give you all the tech specs, and sometimes they were a little annoying.
Yeah.
Right? Then, after 2007, like Google became a thing, right? So now you would like Google stuff. And before you make a purchase, do you typically like review stuff online?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because I need to know everything I want to know before I make a decision. Also, the educated decision is the way to go for me.
Yes,
at least.
for everybody.
And for everybody, yes.
The statistics from HubSpot research says 97% of all purchases, right, start with either social media, where you'll go to your friends and go, does anybody have a good accountant? I need a new lawyer. I need a babysitter in this area, right? You see those all the time on LinkedIn and stuff. Or with a Google search, right? I don't know what the other 3% do, right?
But 97 is a huge
Are
number.
you kidding me? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Google just announced earnings last week, $8 billion in profit, right? Mainly from the Google AdWords that you see. And so this is not like a blip. This is a huge change in buyer behavior. So before you had a sales funnel, right? And the sales guy, you had to talk with me. And I was going to put you through that funnel. And I don't care, Shana, I was going to qualify you. And it was up to me whether you moved to the next step. So I had all the power, right? Today, you have as much information as I do. Right? You know my price book, you know my competitor's price book, you know what we do in the organization. So that transparency has a huge impact and requires companies to really understand the buying process. Now it's not a sales funnel, now it's what we call a flywheel. Are you a potter? Do you do any pottery?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you know what a flywheel
I know what a
is?
flywheel is.
Okay.
But tell everybody who doesn't know what that is.
If you've ever seen the movie Ghost, right? Is it Ghost with Demi Moore?
Yeah, where they're like holding the
exactly.
Like, around.
Yeah. Every woman I've ever talked to, they all see that. Guys like not into Patrick Swayze, but he's pretty good looking. And then she would like push on this wheel and it would go around. And flywheel is force and friction, right? And in 2019, right, the key to any company's scale isn't really the product. It's the way in which you help people position it, the sales and marketing process. And you and I were talking about it. It's not really sales and marketing like it was in 2003. Shmarketing.
Yes.
Right? Say it.
Shmarketing.
Wow.
Smart.
No, you got it like you're from Brooklyn. You did it great. You did it great the first time. I know. Shana, you're not from New York, are you?
No.
Okay. But the shmarketing with the back. Sales and marketing pushed together, which I invented. I invented that term in 2007 with Mike Volpe, who was the CMO of HubSpot, and I used to cold call for HubSpot, which is insane because we're all about not cold calling. And I would pick up the phone and I'd spend 90% of my time talking with people and trying to convince them to move. And then we started to get people to drop their contact information on our website. And we're like talking about, I'm like, oh, this is Dan from HubSpot. And they're like, oh yeah, it was just on your website. And I smiled just like you did. I'm like, oh my God, really? Yeah. Right? And they're like, yeah. And so we'd have these conversations where a little less prospecting, more value. And I'm like, Mike, we need more of these inbound leads. And he's laughing. He's like, I know we started a company so that we can help other companies like build that process. And I'm like, no, I need them now. I got to hit this number. And he's like, well, I need to create content and I don't have any headcount. I'm like, okay, you can have sales headcount. And he was drinking a scotch at the time. He put his scotch down and he said, wait a second, you'll give me sales headcount for marketing. And I'm like, yep, it's not sales, it's not marketing, it's shmarketing. And I was just being like a little bit of a wise guy. And but it was true. And it was easy for me to say because it wasn't my headcount. It belonged to Robert. She ran the sales organization. Yeah. But there was a professor at Harvard Business School, Thomas Steenberg, who wrote an article about sales and marketing alignment in 2007. And it's never been more impactful than it is in 2019. Oh, right? Absolutely. Marketing people sell. Actually, everybody sells. Marketing is actually everything, right? And shmarketing, you have to have your marketing department create those emails. They have to do the workflows. They have to nurture people who aren't quite yet ready yet. And those marketing emails are super impactful for the way you get more qualified leads. And salespeople have to use the best practices and have to be attuned to all the data and analytics to make sure that they're doing the right things. And the companies that have that alignment, according to Gartner and Aberdeen and all the companies that really dig into it, all say that if you have that alignment, you're going to do much better. You're going to grow more quickly.
All right, guys, we all know that the dream, the absolute dream would be to have a ton of inbound leads that are qualified and that convert. And HubSpot is the tool that will help you do that. Their big mantra is what's good for the business has to be good for the customer. And what other way to get great leads and to get people influxing than with a software that understands how to make that relationship work. Now, HubSpot is an incredible platform. We've been using them for a really long time. The great thing about it is they have free services and then they also scale with you depending on how massive your marketing strategy becomes. So go check out HubSpot. We've got a link for you in the description. They are incredible and you won't regret it.
So what is the best way now then to give people the information that they need in order to get them
great question.
to the sale, right?
So there's a couple of things. First of all, you have to treat people like human beings, right? If you ever send me an email, dear valued customer, right? Forget about it. I know, it's humorous. Like, but 2 years ago, Shana, if I sent that to you, you just like, okay, and put it in your spam folder. Now, you're you're angry. You're like annoyed, right? Over the last 2 years, there's been a phenomenal change based on the fact that there's more competition, the fact that on your phone, you get what you want, like immediately, right? And that's what you're used to. And if somebody doesn't understand you and who you are and what you want, right? You're like, no, wait, right? I'm Shana, this is what I want. And there's a high expectation for everybody, B2B, B2C, that happens. So the first thing is we gotta treat you like a human being, right? We gotta make sure that we know who you are, that we're respectful, and we're providing as much value as we can. The second thing is we wanna help, right? So the more information that we have about you, the better we can help. I don't wanna be pushy, you get to decide. Right? And so in the last 2 years, there's things like chat bots, and if they're properly constructed, you get exactly what you want. Do you like chat bots?
I do. They're awesome.
Why?
They're helpful.
Boom. And they give you what you want.
Right.
You don't have to talk to a human being.
Right.
And like, you're a nice human being, but sometimes you just want to boom, get right to the point. Right? You don't want to say, hello, how you doing? How's the weather in Phoenix? How are you? We're just too busy. That's the world we live in today. And so helping people turns out to be a very good business strategy. That's why we wrote the book, Inbound Organizations, more than just sales and marketing.
Yeah.
And the best way to help people now is to give them free stuff, right? Do you like free stuff?
Who doesn't like free stuff?
But you like it, right?
I love free stuff,
Why?
of course.
Why do you like free stuff?
Because it's free.
So we've thought, we dig into that a little bit. And like, you're right, everybody likes free stuff. But the reason people like free stuff is, first of all, you feel like, wow, I'm special, right? Oh my goodness, all these other people are paying, but I get it for free, right? And it goes on in everybody's brain. Second of all, it used to be you downloaded content, lots of people still do that, but now you can get to value more quickly. If I give you a free CRM, for example, or free research, or free training, HubSpot Academy offers 84 hours of free training to everybody, right? Thousands of people a week download this, and you don't have to pay a dime. You could move at your own pace, and people love it. They're like, oh my goodness, I'm so much smarter. That's part of the aesthetic of the inbound revolution, right? Give them all this stuff. If you give them free software, right, it's more beneficial for us because, first of all, we have hundreds of thousands of people out there using that software. Second of all, you get to decide when you want to go to a paid plan. Right. If you want to use the free stuff for that, I have people like in airports. First of all, it's amazing to be Dan Tyre, but I'm like walking through airports and people like stop me and go, wait a second, I saw your video, or like, you're Dan Tyre. It's because I wear the same T-shirt all the time.
Right.
I've got
it's
6 of them.
Call.
I know.
Yeah, for sure.
If I wear my inbound organization T-shirt, they don't recognize me. But I know. I have 6 of them, but I've been wearing them for like 12 years.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'm like, what are you sorry about? And they go, I've been using your free stuff. I've never paid you a dime. Right? We're like, hey, that's the way it is. Right. We're actually happy that you do that. First of all, you're getting value of it. Second of all, you're an advocate, right? You're telling people to use HubSpot, right? Third of all, in today's economy, it's not always about making more money. It's about helping people grow better. That's the HubSpot tagline, grow better. Right? That's what we want to do. As individuals, as leaders, as podcasters, as videographers, as businesses, as companies, as managers, and we are all in to help any way we can. And free software does it very, very well. So that freemium model, for our listeners, we always say if there's anything that you can find, whether it's content or a checklist, I mean, you could do the videographers or the content checklist of how to do a great video.
Right.
Right? All that stuff you sent me, right? You put that on your website. That would have value to have tons of people who are just getting involved in video. And now they're going to say, oh, that lady Shana, she helped me, right? She was the person, and that creates, I don't care if you call it karma or the golden rule, the law of attraction, or just helping people out. It is amazing how that works. And like HubSpot has been able to do it at scale, and it's been super cool to be part of it.
Yeah, and well, what's great about that, like the free entry model, however you want to call it, is especially if you're educating alongside of that, then the right people will end up wanting more out of your platform.
Exactly right.
Because you've taught them how to use it.
Exactly. On a daily basis, first of all, people will ping me and say, all right, I think I'm ready for the next step. Right? And they don't even have to come to me. They can do it touchlessly. They just go into their system and they upgrade. And there's this process where there's no push. right? That's the like friction in the flywheel. What you want to do is you want to make sure it's super easy. People get access to your free stuff. Second of all, you want to make sure that they move at their own pace, right? I wrote a famous blog article called "Always Be Closing is Dead," right? How to Always Be Helping, 2015.
Yeah.
You ever see the Glenn Ross movie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, with
ABC, man.
Yeah. Great. Alex Baldwin, right?
Yeah.
You know Kevin Spacey's in that as well?
Is he?
And Ed Harris, we can't talk about Kevin Spacey, but Ed
Yeah,
Harris
yeah.
as well. But like all these luminaries, right? Incredible. And that one scene is the one everybody remembers, right? Where he's like leaning on the salespeople to push a little harder.
Right.
And I worked as a salesperson for HubSpot twice. The second time in 2015, I came back to Arizona, worked in Arizona territory. And it was amazing because people had changed, right? There was no push. And so I started just saying, no, Shana, my name is Dan, and I'm here to help. And people are like, what do you mean you're here to help? I'm like, you get to decide. They were like weirded out. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm here. I've got all these resources. I just want to let you know, you move at your own pace because I got no juice when it comes to when you decide. As you move to consideration, just let me know what you need. Do you need a trial? Do you need like videos? Do you need help? Do you need guidance? Do you need technical analysis? Anything you need, right? And they were like, that's awesome, right? And so the reputation built. I wrote this blog article. It drove thousands, tens of thousands of leads, 3,000 HubSpot customers. Turns out by writing this blog article, people were like identifying with that was the second change. The first one is 2007, the second is 2015, and then the third and the most important is in the last 18 months or 2 years, right? What goes on in your brain? Amazing that you want everything just served up to you. That
right.
That segment of one, that hyper personalization. And so companies need to realize that. And if we establish that valued relationship with you, you will either use the free stuff for as long as you like, or when you're considering moving to the next stage, you'll at least consider us.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how we've propelled a multi-billion-dollar market cap company.
Well, you're doing something right?
Ew.
And you're telling everybody else about what you're doing right.
So cool. I'm a huge HubSpot fanboy, right? We now have almost 3,000 employees, right? As some companies, as they grow, right, the quality of the employee sometimes takes a step back. That's not the case, right? At HubSpot, the people we hire today are so smart, so dedicated, so effective that I don't know if I could get hired by HubSpot in 2019. It's amazing. And we use analytics. It's hard to get into HubSpot, but we appreciate everybody who tries, right? We appreciate the entire ecosystem of our partners. We have 5,000 partners worldwide. Of our customers, of course, 50,000 paying customers, hundreds of thousands of like free stuff. And it's been like amazing. To be part of that and to help more people.
It sounds like it.
Yes.
So speaking of working at HubSpot,
yes.
and like, well, one question, I guess I'm going to lead into this.
Yeah.
How do you feel about transparency in marketing?
Okay, so super important, right?
Right.
Everybody sees your stuff anyway, right? On Glassdoor, are you familiar with Glassdoor?
Yes, yeah.
Right? Do you ever look at Glassdoor?
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Why
Not
do you
all
do
the
it?
time, but I mean,
Yeah,
I look
know,
at it to
when
see what I should be paying, like what's competitive, what other people are,
Of course, and you get a feel for a company's culture.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had somebody turn over, it's likely that they have your price book, and there is like, business is different today where you can do two things. You could be like closed-minded and try to like keep everything internal, in which case you're not going to be successful, or you can just be transparent. We were talking about in 2018, HubSpot has what's called an M spot. And in the book, we've got to give a plug to the book.
We got to get that book up here.
Right? Wiley published in 2018, my co-author, Todd Hockenberry, best co-author in the history of books. Right, he is amazing. We have a chapter called the M spot, and the M spot is your mission, your strategy, your plays, your omissions, and your targets. Right, and HubSpot has had an M spot. It's something we took directly from HubSpot. The book has lots of stuff on HubSpot in it. We interviewed J.D. Sherman, who's the COO. Brian Halligan wrote the foreword, and we moved diversity and inclusion into the M spot. Right?
Good.
So it's a big thing for us.
Yeah, for sure.
And Katie Burke, who's our chief people officer, who's amazing, right? Halligan has called her the most valuable employee at HubSpot, and I have to agree, very much like right up there. She came out and published the diversity statistics for HubSpot. I think it was in 2015, the first time.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And they weren't particularly good, right? We were dominated by a certain demographic, and there was an intent to change that, but the results weren't that good. But by putting that out there in a blog article, diversity and inclusion statistics at HubSpot and our need to improve, right? We went from 1 woman on our board of directors to 3. Right, and a person of color. HubSpot is one of 20% of publicly traded companies that have 3 women on their board of directors.
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
That's incredible.
Me
I
too.
love that. I got goosebumps.
How do you sell to women if you don't have women leaders? And then
amen.
It seems logical.
Right.
And you and I talked about this, but it's 2019,
Yeah.
and if 80% of the companies don't think like that, then we've got to work harder to get there.
For sure.
And then we started measuring how many managers, how many executives were for gender, ethnic equality, age equality, in an effort to improve that. And 3 years ago, it was about 25% women were managers. Next year it was 38%. Next year it was 45%. And we release our diversity statistics next week publicly.
Yeah.
Right? And hopefully we'll see continual progress on all of those different areas. And it's never quick enough, and we always want to lean in. But it's an example of that transparency. When you put that out there, now all of a sudden it's super impactful. And I told you diversity and inclusion is super important for me.
Right, yeah.
Right, personally. I do 50 speaking engagements a year on behalf of HubSpot. Always, first of all, I won't speak on a program unless they have at least 1 person of color and a woman on the dais.
Yeah.
What do they call them? All man panels. Manels, I think they
Manels.
call it. Yes.
There's a lot of them.
I know. Not anymore.
It's up to, yeah, right.
I'm just doing a podcast for or a webinar for a Phoenix-based company, and there was 2 white guys, and I'm like, no. We have to find a way to it's diversity and inclusion. This is stuff that we're super serious about, and we have to make every effort we can to change it. And so they were very adaptable and decided to change it. But I put that in my at least 1 slide in all of my presentations, right? Because we got to tell the world we're not making enough progress.
Yeah.
We've got to move more quickly. It's not just a HubSpot thing. It's like a humanity thing.
For sure.
This is the 21st century, right? We get to do whatever we want to do, right? And this is super impactful for society, super impactful for businesses, super impactful for results. All of the information you get on diversity is if you have a diverse workforce, right, you dominate, right? And it's hard, right? But now's the time to start. So I'm digging in my heels, making sure that everywhere I go, it's one of the top 3 things that I talk about. And super proud of the progress that we've made at HubSpot, and lots of stuff.
That's great. What I love about that is that I'm sure posting that first post with the statistics was a little hurtful to do, right?
Yeah.
But I think that what's so great about it is owning where there are issues to improve on forces you to now make change and make it better. And you guys have done that leaps and bounds. I think that's the only way to grow, really.
It was hard, and it's going to continue to be hard. It's hard for everybody, right? But people tell me all the time, I can't find good people, and you're just not looking in the right places, right? If you want good people, you have to make the extra effort. If you want a diverse workforce, you have to make the extra effort. And actually, the diversity part is a little bit easier. You can find people of color and gender diverse folks and different types. It's making that culture inclusive. That's really the hard part, because I think most people are oblivious about how that works and what it's like to be a woman in sales, and or a transgender in sales, or an ethnic minority in sales, and so everybody's got to work a little harder to get there.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes.
So let's chat about this book.
Yes.
First of all, you sold how many copies of this thing at this point?
Thousands in the first couple of months, and then for some reason there's been a resurgence in the last 90 days. We just had a call with Wiley and the publisher, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, well, we speak all the time. Todd and I go all over the world, but in the last 3 months, we sold more than we did in the first 6 months of launch, which I'm the same thing.
So what happened?
I know, that's what everybody's saying. It could be the audiobook. We did the audiobook, which was amazing. I went to Times Square. I felt like Jay-Z, right? I'm walking in. So the story is, Wiley said, all right, you've sold enough copies, we want to do the audiobook. And they were managing that. And I'm like, all right, I want to do my own audiobook. And they're like, oh, we don't usually let the authors do it.
Right.
You're going to have to audition. I'm like, I'm all in. I'm all in. I've always wanted to do it. And
who would have thought? You auditioned for your own audiobook.
I know.
That's hilarious. hilarious.
But I guess a lot of authors, a little bit more maybe monotone, a little bit more cerebral, and that's not me, right? The reason Todd is the best co-author in the history of books is because he's kind, he's logical, he's a good writer, and I'm none of that, right? I'm like all over the place, and we wrote like, it took hundreds and hundreds of hours. But we got nominated to do the audiobook, and then so I auditioned for my own book, and they're like, okay, you can do it. And it was so much fun. You go in there, I had my own like audio engineer.
Yeah.
And this lady's sitting there, and she's like, all right, you burped in that last sentence. And I'm like, no way, no way. But when you listen to the tape, you could hear. And I had somewhere around 162 mispronunciations, because I tend to go a little too quick. I know, so I had to come back and do it over. But it was super fun. And so the audiobook, I told Todd the reason the audiobook was selling very well is because none of my friends can read, right? They're all like, you're a podcast person, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So people, I find people on the East Coast are more podcast people than the
think
people,
so.
right? I think it's because they do it when they shovel snow.
Maybe.
Or
They
in
need
LA
something to
when
take
they're
their
like
mind off.
Exactly.
Yeah, for
exactly.
sure.
Exactly. I'm a podcast guy when I like travel around.
Yeah.
But so we did the audiobook. That was great. And the kind of the story of the book is that I speak a lot on inbound and the inbound revolution, what we were talking about, right? Treating people like human beings, the segment of one, understanding that it's the process of how you engage with somebody rather than the actual product.
Yeah.
And people would say, okay, I get it. I want to be an inbound organization. How do I do it? And I'd say, well, there's a few things that I could offer. And they're writing that down. And I was giving a speech in Southern California, and this guy, Todd, comes up to me. I've known him for 10 years. He goes, you know, you should write a book. I'm like, I know, but I'm super busy. He goes, but you should write a book. I'm like, I know, I'm super busy. He goes, but I talk about many of the same things. Let's write it together. I'm like,
okay.
I'm in.
All right.
Yeah. I go, all right. I thought about it for like 8 seconds, and I'm like, let's go. Yeah. So, and it was very, very impactful. Wiley was super supportive, right? There are actually 4 inbound books. Inbound Content by Justin Champion, which is great. Inbound PR by my friend Ileana Stariva. She's Bulgarian, and she wrote a great book for PR companies. Yeah. And then Inbound Selling by Brian Signorelli. He's been a HubSpotter for 10 years, and I wrote the foreword to that book. That was super fun. And then Inbound Organization, about how to grow and build your organization with inbound aesthetics, with culture, of how to like do the right thing. Yeah. And it's been super successful, and go all over the world doing workshops and teaching people how to do it. And it's really, inbound has really had a significant change on like everybody, right? Not only the people using the HubSpot software, but like people who understand the best way to help people in the 21st century, the best way to grow their business, the best way to treat their employees. And we talk all about like the key components of doing that in the book.
Yeah, and what's cool is if you go to the website, and we're going to have that it's somewhere in the show notes.
Good.
It will prompt you through, like it won't, there's a section that it's like take the assessment.
Yeah.
And it's like 33 hardcore questions of if you're applying this or if you have the mindset to even apply it.
Yeah.
And some of those questions I was like, we crushed this. And some of them were kind of humbling because you're like, okay, I see where I can use some improvement.
Yeah. So it's not about where you are today, it's how
Right.
you're going to improve, right? What we wanted to do is take an analytical approach so that all stages of companies could review the questions and understand how to start.
Yeah.
We periodically run these 2-day workshops, right, for folks to come in and to build their M-spot, like so that on one page they have their mission, their strategy, their plays, their omissions, and their targets. And then they build what we call an inbound operating system, which is the way in which you instruct everybody in your organization how to stay on the same page.
Yeah.
And there's sales and marketing, there's back to office. HubSpot has this, our general counsel is this guy, John Kelleher, right? And he is amazing, right? He has videos about how our legal department is helpful to not only to us internally, but also our clients. So he has an inbound legal department, right? Wow. Which, I mean, unbelievable. Right. Inbound back office, inbound finance. And it's a real eye-opener for a lot of people because if they're not moving in that direction, it's quite possible that they're going to start stumbling.
Yeah.
Right? One of Todd's great quotes is, everybody wants to grow, but no one wants to change. Right? And the inbound revolution has been like out there for 12 years. It's got another 25 years to go.
For sure.
Right? These things take like 30 years to implement. But if you ever want to lead from the internet, if you ever want to connect with somebody that wants to buy your stuff, right? By helping them, by giving them free stuff, by being a human being, by recognizing and understanding who they are, you'll have a huge advantage. And that's what we're trying to, that kind of thought process out in the universe.
That's awesome. I love that we talked high level on like just treating people like humans, like everything that you had just said about inbound. We have an episode later with Will Curran. You know Will. We talked about this. Yeah. And he literally, like, the whole episode is about how he uses HubSpot with his content. Yes. And I'm so like, if this isn't like intriguing to you guys who are listening, watching, whatever, like that episode is going to blow your mind. It's really long because he's super excited. I was asking a billion questions.
Yeah. But he's got the funny haircut, right? He's got like a faux hawk. Yeah. I know. I've never seen like a 30-year-old guy with a haircut like that. But he's a good friend. He's been a huge inbound advocate even before he started using HubSpot. I've spoken at many of his events, and the guy has educated thousands of people in the event space. He gives away all of his stuff for free, so he's like an icon. Now everybody wants to hear a little bit about Will, and his business has done great, and that's a perfect example of applying it to what some people would refer to as a traditional market. Right? And like lots of the SaaS companies, they all get it. They have to be online. Lots of the software companies, they all get it. The traditional companies sometimes are a little harder to like transition. But I always ask, I do a lot of board level work, right? Because I got the gray hair, right? You would say the same thing, but they wouldn't quite trust you in the same way for some reason.
I put blonde in my hair to cover the gray, so maybe that's what it is.
I know. I mean, maybe it's just the way of human dynamics. But when you walk in and you go, all right, I got 38 years of business experience. I'm like, all right, do you want to get found for people who are looking for your stuff online? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, well, today you're invisible to Google, right? There is no way you're going to get found unless you change. And they're like, that doesn't sound good. And like, let's get the data and the facts. I go, if you want to connect with people, then you've got to treat them like human beings. And these guys get it, like immediately, right? It just needs to be explained to their vertical market in the way they can.
Right, for sure. So we talk a lot about tactics in that episode, but one thing that I promise everybody is that they will have some sort of actionable thing that they can do in the next 48 hours. That will put them ahead of where they are today.
Okay, so here's the thing. I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, right? I speak with them all over the world. I mentor about 20 companies on the board of directors of 3 companies. And the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs today is to focus, all right? You know what I'm talking about, right? This focus is really hard because for many, many years, lots of companies were generalists. They dealt with a lot of different types of companies and highly successful at it. But one of the things that we've seen in the last 18 months is that everybody, if you got a stomach ache, everybody wants a gastroenterologist, right? Somebody who immediately understands. It's what you were saying about the speed to solving the problem, right? And you don't want like to meander, you want it solved very quickly. So choosing a niche, right? A very specific niche. The nichier the better. Is both frightening but very, very empowering, right? Because if you were going after workspaces in Phoenix that had at least 10,000 square feet and were here in like maybe southern Phoenix, that gives you a very defined niche. And if you were able to grow a market share, you would get all the business, right? Because everybody in their brain would think, no, just go to Shayna. She's the person who deals with those type of group workspaces in that particular territory. And it doesn't mean that you wouldn't be able to help other people, but the riches are in the niches. And if you really focus on that niche, right, and you'll build more value for your company, you'll have better customer satisfaction, you'll be able to get more customers to refer you to other customers, and it will have a significant impact in your business over the next 24 months.
That's awesome. What's one way that somebody could start dialing in what their niche can or should be?
Excellent question. So you start with looking at your personal background and your other like founders or principals. The next thing you do is look at your customer base, right? And look at your really good fit customers. HubSpot has a free tool called Make My Persona, where you can go out and you can see that information, where you can actually create a persona of who you're going to market to. And then you want to get as niche as possible that would have, I don't know, between 100 or 200 potential prospects that you can go after. And then you want to see your current customer base, and you want to try to lay the customer base over the target audience. And then just spend a little bit extra time going in and trying to make that connection. And even if not all of your customers are going to come from that particular niche, if a majority does, then you're going to create more value for them, for yourself, and get a little bit more traction.
That is so awesome. Thank
Cool.
you. That's
You're
a
welcome.
great action item. I appreciate it.
I know, no worries.
Well, thank you so much. This has been incredible. I learned a ton. I was just super excited to have Dan on here, and now we have all this knowledge to go with the episode. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Happy to do it.
Yeah.
Thanks for being part of the Arizona entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Yeah.
Super excited to be here at Galvanize and talking to your audience, and look forward to helping any way I can.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, guys. You are welcome for Dan Tyre today. Oh my gosh. Have an awesome week, and we will talk to you on the next one.
Thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Content Coalition. Now, whether you're listening or watching, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel and to whatever platform you're listening to it on, because you're not going to want to miss out on the incredible things that I'm learning with these amazing content marketing pros. So make sure you subscribe, and we will talk to you next week.